So, having said that, and I'm going to call up Pastor Josh right now. He has an announcement. Good morning. Good morning. All right, so we have been walking through a season as a church through the Christmas season. We have been talking a lot. Every Sunday, in fact, we saw videos about the lighting Christmas offering. Jess and Kelsey handled that fantastically, and so we're so thankful to them for really leading out on that. We set a goal of $3,000, and so this morning we wanted to announce what our total is for this year's Lighting One Christmas offering. So this year, as a church, we took up $3,550.22. So that's fantastic. That makes my heart so happy. And every single dime of that is going to go straight to the nations as we support missionaries all over the world through the International Mission Board. So I thank you for your generosity this year. And I challenge you to go ahead and start saving today. It's not too bad if we do it kind of gradually. So even Kelsey and I consider each year, how much can we set aside per month to give towards the nations on top of our already church offering that we give to Lakeside here. So I would challenge you to consider how can you already be saving, preparing for our Lighting One Christmas offering next year as we prepare to continue as a church, come around with millions of other Christians in our denomination and give towards the mission of God around the globe. So we want to pray and thank the Lord for this great gift that our church has given, and we also want to prepare to take our regular offering and call our ushers in. As they're coming forward, I'll go ahead and begin our prayer for us. Father, we thank you this morning that you will be glorified in the nations because of our gifts, even more so. That we have just, as a church, become even a bigger part of what we want to do in every tribe, tongue, nation, people. And God, we pray that you would pierce our hearts with the fact that there are still billions of people who have never even heard the name of Jesus. We pray, God, that you would wake us up thinking about the fact that the light of the gospel is still not pierced in so many places in our world, and that we have the ability to reach them. And so, God, we pray as a church that you continue to move us toward how we can be a Great Commission church, making your name known in the nations. So, Lord, this morning we pray for this offering as we continue to give towards your kingdom with our tithes and offerings here at Lakeside. God, thank you for those who give joyfully. God, as you've given us the ability and what you've done for us, that we get to give a portion back to you, God. We thank you for that. We praise you in Jesus' name.
Let's all stand together this morning and sing this hymn. There is Lord Jesus. Yes, Lord Jesus, Lord of all nations, all worlds And all the angels beautiful Savior, Lord of all nations, Son of God, and Son of glory and power, praise and adoration, now and forevermore. Be glory and honor, glory and power, praise and adoration, now and forevermore. Be Christ alone, in Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my heart, my strength, my soul, this cornerstone, this solid ground, where to the pieces round and soul. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are still, and trying seas, my comforter, my all in all. In the rock of Christ, I stand. In Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless faith, this gift of love and righteousness, scored by once He came to save, till all that cross that Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied, to every sin on Him was laid. Here in the death of Christ, I live. There in the ground, His body lay, light of the world, my darkness saved. Then bursting forth in glorious day, up from the grave He rose again. And as He stands in victory, since clouds have fallen, His glory, for I live, and He is mine, watered in precious blood of Christ. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. Life's first cry to final breath. Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever come before me. No power of hell, no power of hell, no sleep of death, and never cross we profited till we return. For false behold, given the power of Christ, our sin. Let's sing the first verse, the fourth verse. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ. Let's sing it together. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. From life's first cry to final breath, Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever call me forfeited till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ, I stand. No power of hell, no power of hell, no scheme of man can ever call me from his hand till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ, I stand. Sing it to the Lord. For your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment I wake up till I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. Sing the first verse again. I love you, Lord, for your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment I wake up till I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. Yes, I will. And all my life, love and faith. And all my life, love and soul, so true. Every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I need your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest nights. You are close like no other. I know you as a father. I know you as a friend. And I have lived in the goodness of God. All my life, love and faith, thank you for Jesus. And all my life, love and soul, so every breath that I am able, I I will sing of the goodness of God. His goodness is running after us. His goodness is running after us. After me. His goodness is running after us. It's running after me. My life is down into that. My fear your goodness is running after, it's running after me. It's running. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life down into the ground, I need you. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Tell him, all my life you have been faithful. Sing it out. All my life you have been so good. Every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Sing it again. All my life, you have been faithful. All my life, you have been so good. Every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. You guys can have a seat.
Amen. Let's have this seat. Invite all the kids to come this way. All the kids are going to come right down this way before you head out. Send the kids on down. All right, kids, you guys are going to have a seat right here, facing. Have a seat right here, looking up toward the street. Okay, right here. You guys have a seat. Any other kids, adults, welcome to? Come on down. All right, we're going to get that video so you guys are sitting.
Hi, I'm Zacchaeus, and this is Jericho, where I live. Did you know I met Jesus? It changed my life forever, and I want to tell everyone about it.
Zacchaeus lived in a city called Jericho. His job was to collect money from people. In fact, he was the boss of all the people who collected taxes, so he had a lot of money. Zacchaeus didn't just take what he was supposed to. He took more than he was supposed to, and he kept the extra money. That was stealing really wrong. One day, Jesus was walking through Jericho.
Hey, there he is. There's Jesus. Hey, what's wrong with Jesus? Hey.
Jesus had done some amazing things that Zacchaeus wanted to see. Zacchaeus wanted to see Jesus, but he had a problem. He was short, really short. He couldn't see over all the people. so he couldn't see Jesus. This wasn't the first time Zacchaeus had had problems being short. If Zacchaeus was going to see Jesus, he would have to make himself taller.
Hi, Zacchaeus.
He knows my name.
Come down here. I want to hang out with you at your house.
Zacchaeus was very happy that Jesus wanted to be his friend. But some other people were not so happy. They didn't think Jesus should be nice to Zacchaeus or even talk to Zacchaeus because Zacchaeus had done so many bad things.
You really want to come to my house?
Yes, really.
You can't be serious.
You can't be serious.
Oh, I'm totally serious.
I think you're confused. Let me help you, Jesus. This man Zacchaeus has done a lot of bad things. He steals money from me. He stole money from me.
Listen, Zacchaeus, you may have done some bad things like stealing, but God hasn't stopped loving you. He loves you no matter what you've done, and that's why I'm here. The Father sent me because He loves you, and I love you.
Zacchaeus? Why would I be jealous of Zacchaeus? I mean, I always followed the rules, did what I was supposed to do, while Zacchaeus ripped people off and collected more money than they owed. Why wouldn't Jesus want to hang out with him?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're right. What I did was wrong. But look, I will give back what I took. Actually, even if I took an extra point from anybody, I will give you back 4 coins. And I'll take half of all my stuff, and I'll give it to all the people who need it.
So that's it? He wants to be good now and you're just gonna let him? What about his past? What about everything he's done?
Oh, man, just my game. You know, she's kind of right. I've been pretty bad. Maybe you should find someone more deserving of your attention.
The Father sent me for everyone to find the lost.
Everyone?
Everyone.
Not me, right?
I came for everyone.
Everyone. Except me.
I came for you, Zacchaeus. These people don't decide what you're worth. And you don't either. You are important to God, and you're important to me. Today, salvation has come to this house, because this man too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. Now, let's go to your house. Do you have any snacks?
I do, and I have a lot of people I want you to meet.
It didn't matter what Zacchaeus had done. Jesus loved him and wanted to be his friend. Could he have done anything to stop God from loving him?
All right, guys. So as you guys saw that video, did you like it? Did you think it was funny? All right, I saw some of you guys smiling. You're allowed to laugh at church. So was there anything that Zacchaeus could do to make God love him less? What about you guys? Is there anything that you could do to make God love you less? No, right? We want you to know that forgiveness and God's love is more about what He has done more than what you've done. And so, man, that's one of our prayers, and we hope that today, as you're a part of our service, we're going to be looking at Zacchaeus today, and we wanted you guys to be a part of it. And the adults don't know it, but the video was more for them than you guys. I just used it to make sure that they thought it was cool too, okay? Well, then pray for you guys before you go. Father, we thank you for today, God. Thanks for this opportunity just to hang out with our little ones for a little while longer. That you bless them as they go on up to our kids' time. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, you guys are all set to go. Amen. As the kids are going out, if you haven't guessed yet, today we're hearing about a story about a guy named Zacchaeus. And for those of you who are here today, maybe you've heard this story a ton of times. Maybe it's something that you grew up with the felt boards, that high technology tool that we used to use in Sunday school, the felt. It's like the black, and you put the kids on it. Not the kids, but the figurines on it. Word straight. But today we're talking about a guy named Zacchaeus. And this guy named Zacchaeus has a personal encounter with Jesus. Before we do, we want to bow our heads. We want to have a few moments of silence. I invite you to just relax your heart, to still your mind, and to prepare yourself before we jump into God's Word. So let's bow our heads together. We're going to be silent for just a moment. Lord Jesus, right now, we pray, God, that you would give us such a clear glimpse into your word as we look into a life that was changed. This guy named Zacchaeus, remind us that we as well can have an encounter just like he did, and that it can change us. We pray today, God, that you would change us more and more, maybe for the first time, or maybe there's somebody who's here who has never followed you, Jesus, or maybe, Lord, for the 1,000th time, for a Christian, a son, or a daughter, that they would be reminded fresh and new of what you've done. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Now this morning, as we jump into this story, we find ourselves right in the middle of Jesus' journey to the cross. In this story, this happens about 1 week before Jesus was crucified. And so this scene is happening just before the crucifixion of Jesus. And as you saw in the video, it's happening in the city of... Okay, it was Jericho. You guys were not paying attention. It was the city of Jericho. Jericho was about 17 miles from Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is where Jesus would be crucified. So Jesus is on the way to the place where he would give his life. And as he's traveling through these towns, this is where we have this encounter. We're going to look at it in God's Word. I invite you to grab your copy of God's Word. Luke chapter 19 is where we're going to be today. Matthew, Mark, Luke is the fourth gospel, page 878 if you've got a blue Bible. Page 512 if you're using one of those white Bibles. 878 in the blue Bible, 512 in the white Bible. If you turn on your application, or your iPad, or whatever you got. 878, Luke chapter 19 is where we're going to be today. As we check out this true story about a guy named Zacchaeus. We're going to read verses 1 through 9, and then we're going to jump in and see what God has for us today. Follow along with me. This is the word of the Lord. He entered Jericho. Jericho was passing through, and behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. And he was seeking to see who Jesus was, but on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So he hurried and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all grumbled. He has gone to be the guest of a man who is a sinner. Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone anything, I restore it fourfold. Jesus said to him, Today's salvation has come to this house, since he also is a son of Abraham. This is God's word. Let's pray God's word. Father, now open our eyes to see your goodness. We pray in Jesus' name that you, Holy Spirit, would convict us of sin. Remind us that sometimes we find ourselves in the crowd, condemning others, but remind us that we are all Zacchaeus in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, we're going to jump into this story. We want to give you some of the background, and we're just going to kind of walk through the story as it unfolds and see what God has for us. The first thing that we notice, as we've said, the city that this takes place in is the city of... You guys got it that time, a couple of you. Okay, this is audience participation Sunday. I know the snow has slowed you down. But maybe you're not aware of the significance of Jericho. Now, Jericho in the Old Testament was the most fortified city in the land. most scholars say that it had 2 walls, and the walls surrounding this city were so big that you could drive horses and chariots around the top of it. Now, the people of God had been sent out of Egypt, and they had been exit out of the land of slavery, and they've been wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, and God has promised them the promised land. I mean, the promised land is like Florida for most of you guys, unless it's too hot, and then you will become what we called you when I grew up in East Tennessee. We called you halfbacks, because you moved to Florida, it was too hot, halfback to Tennessee. That's where you ended up. But this is the promised land. It's even better. It's like the most amazing thing that God had promised his people. But smack dab, right in the middle of the way of the people's entrance, the people of God, as they're going into the promised land, is this city, Jericho. Now, what happens at Jericho is simply ridiculous. It's amazing. And don't forget, this is a true story. So you've got this fully fortified city. It is the most fortified city in the land. These walls seem unbreakable. There's no way that these walls can be broken. And you got the people of God, they're ready to go into the promised land, and they're ready to take it, okay? They're like, God, we are ready to take the promised land. Men, get your swords. Guys, get the spears. Get the chariots. And God's like, get the marching band. You guys are laughing. That's just it. All right. So that's exactly what he tells them. They're like, put the swords down, put the spears down, get the marching band. Favorite passage of every marching band member, past and present. And so this is what they do. They get the marching band. They get the people. They march around the city for 7 days. On the 7th day, they blow the ram's horns and they shout with a mighty shout, and the walls crumble. They come down. These walls of Jericho that seemed unbreakable, they were, except for the power of God. And God crumbles these walls just by their obedience. They walk around the city. They play the ram's horns. It makes no sense. They're like, I've seen a lot of war movies. I've never seen this move, okay? This is not in the war book. God says, this is what I want you to do, because it's not your power. It's my power that's going to take down these walls. And then God gives them the city, and they enter the promised land. Now get this picture, because it's going to play in later. There's one major idea in the story of Jericho in the book of Joshua. In this story, it's all about God's power and man's obedience. It's all about God's power and our obedience. Not man's power, but God's power. And so this very city, Jericho, this thing that had happened so many years before, is the exact place that we're looking at this guy named Zacchaeus. Now, let's talk about Zacchaeus for a second. You saw him on the screen. Some of you guys know that chart-topping song, Zacchaeus was a wee little man, was he? You know that one. That's all I'll do for you this morning. We'll do it another time. Next week, praise team, okay? You get that one queued up. But Zacchaeus, this is the guy. He's a little guy. But have you ever considered what God wants you to know? Maybe you've heard this story 100 times. Maybe you're like, I heard this story. That's a little kid story. Let me challenge you to consider that God has such a bigger picture for you this morning. He has so much more to show you. Don't categorize this as a little kid story. It's not. This is an amazing story about this wee little man. And today we're going to see, I pray, an eyewitness account of what God has done through him and what he can do through you. Because the Bible isn't just, as maybe you've characterized the story, maybe you consider the Bible is just a book of morals, so it's about morality. Maybe you've thought that the Bible is just a book of history. It's not. It is a love story. It's about a king who comes from his throne and rescues his people by giving his life. It's about a king who comes down to the peasants. He comes down to their level, and he sacrifices himself to make the people his sons and daughters. And I truly believe that today, God wants to get your attention in this story of Zacchaeus. All right. So Zacchaeus is a wee little man. We got that part. But what else was he? He's a tax collector. Now, in our land today, what would we call the tax collector system? The IRS. You guys are getting this. Okay, so it's the Internal Revenue Service. Now, here's a poll for you. If we got any family members in the IRS, I'm not dogging them, okay? Bless them, Lord. But if you were to say this morning, as a whole, not in our church, of course, because we love everybody, but if the IRS, would that be a popular or unpopular group of people? Wow, you guys think they're proud of the IRS? I would say that most people, when they think about the IRS, they're usually like unpopular. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't wake up in the morning like, I get to pay taxes today. Woo! Like half my salary is gone. As a whole, maybe some people are like, you're okay with it, but as a whole, probably unpopular. But let me ask you this question. Do you think that most people consider them hated? Probably not. I don't think that most people would put them in this term or really boil down this term, hate. Hated is a pretty strong word. I mean, if you were to consider who are the most hated people in our world today, you might put on the top of your list maybe like Kim Jong-un in North Korea, maybe like Vladimir Putin, Tennessee Titans. I don't know who would be like at the top of your list, but whoever is at the top of your list, whoever's at the top of your list, the tax collectors would be there, man. They'd be like, Tennessee tax collector, right there. Honestly, though, tax collectors would be at the top of your list. Get this, guys. These tax collectors weren't just unpopular, okay? They weren't just like, oh, I don't want to pay taxes. These guys were hated. I don't want you to think like, oh, I don't like hatred. They were loathed. If you think about the person you hate most in the world, these guys were the most hated. And growing up as a kid, I used to think, why are these guys so hated? I mean, I don't like paying taxes, but why do people hate them so much? I mean, in our country, honestly, we pay taxes, but our taxes as a whole, they go to support great things. They go to support people in need. They go to support all of our infrastructures. And that's the very reason that people hated these tax collectors so much is because of what they were funding. You see, when people would give to these tax collectors, the thing that they were funding was the Roman government. They were funding the Roman government. And if you were to consider what the Roman government primarily did to the people of God, they oppressed the people and they systematically slaughtered the people. So essentially what you've got on your hands here is you've got people, you've got Jews who are working for what you would consider as ISIS. It would be like an American citizen working for ISIS, collecting taxes, forcing you to pay taxes to systematically slaughter you. They were traitors. They were hated. Above hated. They were loathed. So that's the first reason. They were hated so much. Zacchaeus was hated so much because he was funding the systematic slaughter of his own people. He was a traitor. Secondly, they were stealing. So not only were they taking what they were supposed to take and giving it to the Romans to oppress them, but they were taking more than they were supposed to take, which is how these guys became so rich. And if you didn't pay, Zacchaeus would say, Roman government, he didn't pay his taxes, and then you would be crucified or killed. So these guys were hated above hated. And not only was Zacchaeus a tax collector, did you notice in the story and in the script, in the text, verse 2 tells us he was the chief tax collector. So get the picture. Not only did people hate the tax collectors, but he was the head honcho tax collector, which meant that he was the hardest-headed, biggest jerk of them all. He was the boss of the tax collectors, which meant that he was filthy, stinking rich with blood. He was loaded. So get the picture in your mind. Not IRS, think Nazi Germany. Think ISIS. Think communist Russia. Think Pol Pot. Think about these people who slaughtered others. These tax collectors were absolutely hated. And that's the reason that Jesus' actions are so crazy in this story. Jesus walking through the city, and he walks directly over to Zacchaeus. And he calls him by name. You ever notice that? And even pointed out in the declamation. Jesus calls him by name. And then Jesus invites himself over to Zacchaeus' house. Now, in our culture, inviting yourself over to someone's house is kind of like a rude thing unless you're a pastor. It's just a warning. And so in our culture, it's kind of a rude thing, but in this culture, for someone to go to your house, to have a meal with you, that was a complete sign of embrace. For Jesus to go to Zacchaeus' house, this is essentially what Jesus is saying. Zacchaeus, I love you, I accept you for who you are. It was scandalous. And this day, going to someone's house like this was crazy, and we see this in the text in verse 7. Check it out again in verse 7. Notice the they. And when they saw it, they all grumbled. And see what they said. He is gone to be the guest of a man who is a what? A sinner. Now, to be honest, before you're like, that crowd, how could they do that? Isn't that what we all do? So many times don't we find ourselves in the crowd? So many times when someone else, maybe a pastor or a leader, a political leader, maybe your boss or coworker, when they get found out for something that they've done, aren't we sometimes the first ones in the crowd and like, how could they do that? Don't be too quick to think that you are not in the crowd complaining about Jesus accepting someone who is a sinner. For us, our sin is often not that bad. God, I know it was just a sin and all, but it wasn't that bad. When we consider the sin of others, we're like, that's worse. Jesus embraces Zacchaeus, and because of this, the people start to complain. And then something really crazy happens. Something truly nuts happens after Jesus invites himself over. Verse 8, look what Zacchaeus says. And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold. Do you understand what just happened here? Zacchaeus essentially just gave away every penny that he had. He says, Lord, half of my money, I give it away, the equivalent of millions of dollars. This guy was loaded. He says, half of it to the poor, and if I've taken $1,000 from anyone, I give them back $4,000. Essentially, he just gave away every single penny he had. This is truly epic. This is crazy. This would have gotten the people's attention, but not as much as what happened next. Zacchaeus giving away his money was crazy, but not as much as what happened next. You see, you remember the picture of what has just happened and where they are. Zacchaeus lives in the city of Jericho. Jericho, a city that was previously known for its fully fortified walls around the city, the same walls that the power of God had crumbled so many years before. And just like the city of Jericho, Zacchaeus had built these walls around his life. Zacchaeus had these walls around the things that he loved most. He had been protecting these things. There's no doubt that he was not only unpopular with the people, but he was most likely unpopular with even the other tax collectors. And just like the city of Jericho, he had built these walls around his life, and he was protecting the thing that he loved the most. I don't know if you've considered in your own life, but if you were to think right now, and you were to allow the Holy Spirit to bring it into your heart and to your mind, what have you built walls around in your own life? What have you protected so greatly? It's on the inside. It's in your heart. What's on the inside of your walls? What are they protecting? Maybe it's prestige. Maybe it's power. Maybe it's intellectual integrity. Maybe for you, it's I can't really follow Jesus because if I follow Jesus, that will make me intellectually inept. I'm not sure what's on the inside of your walls. But if you looked at Zacchaeus' life, it was pretty clear what were on the inside of his walls. It was his fortune and his power. Just like the city of Jericho all those years before, something brought down these walls in Zacchaeus' life. Something had crumbled the walls in Zacchaeus. What was it? Let me tell you what it was not. What was it not? It was not the condemnation of the people around him. It was not a list of rules that the Pharisees and Sadducees had set out for him that he had to follow. It was not God's condemnation of Zacchaeus. It was not any of these systematic things that he could set up in his life. What was it that brought down the walls? It was Jesus' unequivocal acceptance and love of Zacchaeus. It was the love of God that tore down these walls. It was not anything else. Jesus accepted Zacchaeus just the way he was. He didn't come to Zacchaeus and say, Zacchaeus, once you get your life together, let's talk, okay? It's not what he says. He comes to Zacchaeus, he realizes, remember, Jesus is the God of the universe. Nobody knows how jacked up he is like Jesus does. Zacchaeus doesn't even know how sinful he is. And Jesus comes to him and he says, Zacchaeus, I love you. I embrace you. I accept you. I'm coming to your house today. And nobody can believe it, even Zacchaeus. What was it that brought down these walls in Zacchaeus' life that he had built around his heart? It was Jesus' relentless, never-stopping love. It was the only thing that could tear down the walls. It was only the power of God that could tear down these walls and change Zacchaeus' life. And you see, because Jesus says, I come to your house, the very next thing you see, Zacchaeus says, Lord, half of my fortune I give away. If I've stolen anything, I pay it back fourfold. This was epic, but not as epic as what Jesus says in verse 9. Check it out in verse 9. Jesus declares, verse 9, today salvation has come to this house. What just happened? All we see is that Zacchaeus gives his money away. And Jesus declares that Zacchaeus' sin has been forgiven. If you looked at this, you might consider, did Zacchaeus just buy his salvation? Did Jesus say, well, Zacchaeus, because you gave away that amount of money, that now your sin is forgiven? Does that mean that we take half of our bank account and we give it away to the poor, and if we've stolen anything from anybody, we pay it back fourfold? Does that mean that's what we have to do to buy salvation? Absolutely not. The Bible is very clear. You cannot buy your own salvation. That it has been bought, but it has not been bought by you. It's been purchased by Jesus on the cross. So it leads you to ask yourself, what just happened? Was Zacchaeus giving all his stuff away? Here it is. Zacchaeus giving all of his stuff away was not the purchase of salvation. It was the proof of salvation. Zacchaeus giving all his stuff away. It was not Zacchaeus purchasing salvation. It was the proof that something radically had changed in his life. He did not just buy his way to God. God had just dropped the walls of these sinful natures in his life, and now his hands were released with his resources and these things that he had been clinging to for love and hope and security. These walls had dropped by Jesus' acceptance of him, and now Zacchaeus says, I've got the love of Jesus. What else could I want? Lord, I give it away, man. I don't care. All away. It was the proof that he had allowed Jesus to break down these walls of greed in his life. And you've got to ask yourself, what are the walls in my life? You've got to consider, what are the things that I have built around my life? What is on the inside of these walls? Maybe it's pride. Maybe it's intelligence. Maybe it's success. Maybe it's sexual addiction. I don't know what it is. But as you see in this story, the thing that you have to realize is the only thing that can break down those walls is the power of God. It's not you. You cannot conquer these walls in your life. You can't say, God, I got this. I'm going to read my Bible, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. No. Those are the things that lead us to love God more. But the only thing that can bring this down in our lives is the love of God. And we've got to consider that whatever it is on the inside of these walls, if we have placed it above God, then that would be defined as an idol. Doesn't matter what it is. Anything that we put above God is an idol. And it's even good things. Oftentimes I say that idols are good things that we make God things. It can be your family. It can be your children. It can be church stuff. It can be anything. And in fact, the closest things to our idols are the good things that we make God things. I don't know exactly what your walls are protecting, but there is absolutely one thing that I do know. The only thing that will bring them down is the power of God. The only thing that will bring them down is the power of God. And that's exactly what happened in Zacchaeus. Jesus knew that the only thing that would set him free from his addiction to all this other stuff was his fully uncompromising love and acceptance of him. And there's a piece to this that Zacchaeus allowed him to. Because remember the original story. God says, put the swords down, put the spears down, get the trumpets, get the ram's horns, march around the city. It was God's power, but it was people's acceptance and obedience. There's one condition that Jesus will tear down these walls in your life, is if you will let him. Because he's not a tyrant. He's not going to just come in and just smash you. It's our obedience. It's our repentance and our belief. This morning, Jesus is offering the same acceptance to you, the very same acceptance that he offered Zacchaeus. His power is strong enough to tear down these walls. But it only happens as we allow him to. And maybe that's for the first time. Maybe you have never allowed Jesus to have first place in your heart. Maybe you've never realized that all of these things that you were clinging to are sin. Maybe today you would see for the first time that I am clinging to this other stuff, whatever it is. I need to turn from that, and I need to trust in Jesus and allow him to change my heart. And maybe it's for a Christian. And this is like me every day. Every morning, it feels like when I wake up, I'm out there with like brick and mortar, like, all right, more walls. And I'm hiding more stuff, and I'm building up more stuff, and I'm holding up more items, and I'm thinking, I need that, and this, and that, and this, and that. And if I only had that, if I only had this, then I would be happy. And then when something gets threatened to be taken away from me, I can tell what I've set up an idol, because I say things like, if I lost that, then I would not be able to go on. And if this got taken away, then I don't know if I could survive. And when we have done that, we know that we have placed that thing above our Lord and Savior. Because the truth of the gospel is that nothing is better than God. The truth of the gospel is that nothing on this planet can satisfy you more than Jesus. Because Jesus isn't just offering us 70, 80, 90 years if we're lucky. He's not just offering us 90 years of happiness and joy with all of this stuff, and even great things like our family and our children. No, he's offering us so much more. Satisfaction is not a problem. Being satisfied by something is not a problem. It's just being too easily satisfied is the problem. When we're too easily satisfied with the gifts of God rather than the giver, that's the issue. Because Jesus is not just giving us his gifts that we can build walls around. He's giving us himself. Jesus is offering us himself. He's offering us a relationship. Zacchaeus got it, man. He got it. This morning, you've got to ask yourself the question, am I in the crowd or am I Zacchaeus? Or maybe you got to ask yourself the question, am I Jesus to myself? Am I on my own God? Am I the one who does everything in my own life? Which character are you? Maybe you're still in the crowd looking at others and pointing out their wrongdoing. Maybe you are your own God. Maybe you find yourself in the place of Zacchaeus. God has completely satisfied your heart, and now with your resources and your money, your hands are open. And now with your time, your hands are open. And now with your family, your hands are open. And now with your job, and where you live, and your career, now the country you live in, now more and more and more that Jesus is satisfying your heart, we're taking the blank checks of our lives and putting them on the table. You don't have time to figure it out today. You don't have to write the check this morning. Because most of you will not know what God is calling you to do. Although some of you might know what God's calling you to do. And everyone will not know what he's calling us to do in 30 years. But this morning we can say, God, I don't know what it is tomorrow, but I'm putting the check on the table. And whatever you want me to write it to, the interest is. I'll go wherever you say to go. We go back to that old hymn, wherever he leads, I'll go. Maybe that's what God is calling you today. Maybe this morning God has already told you what he wants you to do. But you built some walls around it. This morning, let the power of God break down these walls until you need to come and say, Lord, I've been trying to do it myself. Here it is to you. I don't know what it is for you. You maybe do right now. And if you don't, I pray that the Holy Spirit bring it to your mind and your thoughts right now. And so in a few moments, we're going to have an opportunity. Maybe this morning, you know what it is. Maybe this morning, you just want to be prayed for. Maybe you want to pray and ask God to show you what it is. In a few moments, we're going to have an opportunity to respond. Maybe you're still not sure what happens down here on Sunday mornings. Essentially, what our elders, myself, and our wives are trying to get to is that we're here and we want to pray for you. We want to stand beside you. God has called us to walk alongside you. God has not called us to be in the crowd. No, God has called us the same as you, and we realize that we're all Zacchaeus. This morning, you just want to come forward. When you come forward, it's not like a sign that necessarily you say to the church, my life is a train wreck. No, it might just be like, man, I just want to pray and bless the Lord this morning. Or it might just be, I've got some sickness going on in me, I'd like some prayer for it. Or maybe it's something else. I don't know what it is, but in a few moments, we're going to have an opportunity to respond. We invite you to come, allow us to pray for you, allow us to bless you. And when you do that, you bless us as well, because we get to fulfill what it is that God has called us to do, as He's called us to shepherd this flock, and the great shepherd, Jesus. Let's pray. Father, we thank you this morning that we have the truth that we are Zacchaeus, that your power is strong enough and has conquered the grave, and it can tear down whatever is in our lives that we have set up. This morning, Lord, we pray that as we come to a time of response, or as we come to a time where you would have just allowed us to be prayed for and pray for others, God, that you would allow us to do that with grateful and joyful hearts, Lord, as well as we stand to sing, and we can sing out of the depths of our soul because of what you've done for us. I pray that today, Lord, that you would just continue to give us this obedience, this repentance and obedience, the life of a Christian, day in and day out. We pray, God, that as we leave today, we can be messengers, your emissaries in the darkness, holding up the light of the gospel. Holy Spirit, that you empower us, that you would give us the words to speak, that we would trust in you for these words. Lord, we know that you have promised that you will be with us, and we believe that. God, help us to remember in those times when we trust in your strength. We love you, God. We thank you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. This time I'm going to ask our elders and some of our wives to come forward. I'd love to pray for you as we all stand.
In Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my life, my strength, my song. This cornerstone, this solid ground, firm through the faces proud and strong. What heights of cloud, what depths of peace, when fears are still, when storming seas, my comforter, my all in all. Here in the love of Christ I stand. In Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless being, this gift of love and righteousness, for everyone's He prayed to stay, till all that cross Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied, for every sin on Him was laid. Here in the death of Christ I stand. There in the ground His body lay, right of the world I brought this day. Then bursting forth in glorious day, up from the grave He rose again, and as He stands in victory, since Christ has lost His grip on me, for I am His, and He fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me. From life's first cry to final breath, Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell or scheme of death could ever come before his hand. Till he returns or calls me home, here in the power of Christ I stand. No power in hell or scheme of death could ever come before his hand. Till he returns or calls me home, here in the power of Christ I stand. Till he returns or calls me home, here in the power of Christ I stand. Let's sing of the goodness of God this morning together. I love you, Lord, yes I do. For your mercy never fails me, and all my days have been held in your hands. From the moment I wake up till I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. For my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire. In darkness night, you are close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. Every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Goodness is running after us. Oh, goodness is running after. It's running after me. Oh, goodness is running after. It's running after me. My life is down to me now, and here you are with me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Yeah. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Oh, Jesus is running after, it's running after me. Lay down, lay down, and hear you after me. Oh, goodness is running after, it's running after me. All my life you have been faithful. Thank you, Lord. All my life you have been so, so good. Every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Sing it one more time. All my life you've been faithful. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. Every breath that I am, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God.
Jesus, you're so good. God, you are so good, and Father, we just thank you. We thank you for this opportunity, Lord. What a privilege it is to worship you. That we are your sons and your daughters, that as we come together, we're a family. God, we thank you for these brothers and sisters that we can lean on. Lord, for some of us in this room going through such terrible and hard times, God, let us be a family that leans on one another through the power of the Spirit. We are a body, and Jesus, you are the head. And sometimes we don't know what our own bodies are doing, but we know that you know what is happening. We know that you're in control. And so this morning, Lord, we just relinquish our will for yours. We pray in Jesus' name that you would empower us just to daily wake up and to long for these times of relationship with you in your word and in prayer and with each other. And that you would guide us this year, 2020, as we consider where it is that you're leading us to go. Lord, that we would remember the things that you have told us that we must do. We would know those things, but Lord, as you call us to different places, that we will be obedient no matter where that leads, even if it's scary or it's crazy, or even if it's Jericho, God, that we know that you have the power to break down those walls of whatever you've called us to conquer. Not in our strength, but in yours. We thank you, Jesus. We praise this in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. You guys excited you were here today? I'm ready to start church service number 2. Let's just start with number 2. So you guys are like, I need to eat some food. And we're so blessed you guys are here today. Please stick around and fellowship and be blessed as we go.